channel. So if you're new here, I post a weekly about careers in psychology, being an aspiring clinical psychologist and wanting to go into clinical psychology. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, then please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. So today we are going to be talking about reflection. I remember when I was an undergrad student and when I was doing my masters, and the topic of reflection kind of came up, and I was like, how do I reflect? What is reflection? What am I supposed to be doing? And I think a lot of undergrads have the same kind of response when reflection's brought up. They're kind of thinking, what actually is it and how do I actually do it? So I thought I would make a video today talking all about that, and hopefully it'll help you if you've got any reflective writing coming up. So Sean talks about two types of reflective practice: reflecting in action, so when you're actually kind of in the moment, maybe in a therapy session, and you're kind of reflecting on what's happening in that moment, and reflecting on action. So this is kind of after the moment and you're maybe reflecting on it after it's happened. So this is probably the most common kind of reflecting that you might be doing if you're having to write a reflective piece of work, and if you're generally trying to improve your reflective practice, you know, by keeping a reflective diary and thinking about what, you know, happened that day and reflecting on that. So the first question that I had when I was starting to think about reflection was, how do I reflect? And this is kind of an annoying answer, but I think it's important to remember that there is no right or wrong way to reflect when you're starting out. You know, when you're writing your reflective diaries, when you're reflecting on something that's happened, you know, there is no right or wrong answer to it. And I think if you're generally kind of more creative and you just want to write about your feelings and what that experience was like for you, it's important to remember that you can just kind of like go for it and just, you know, do that and kind of be creative, not worry about a particular structure or anything like that. However, I think for me and for a lot of other people, we want some kind of structure to reflect. You know, we want a guided reflection. When you're kind of starting out, using a model could be really helpful, and following some kind of structure. So one model that you could use in order to help you reflect could be Gibbs' model of reflection. Gibbs' reflective cycle or reflective model is one of the most commonly used models of reflection, and it can be really useful when you're first starting out. So I'll put up a picture somewhere on the screen to show you what it looks like, and it consists of the description of the experience, your feelings around the experience, evaluating the experience, so thinking about what went well and what didn't go well, an analysis of the problem, a conclusion of the situation, and finally an action plan. So thinking about future steps and what you will do next time if that particular situation arises again. This can be a really nice formula just to follow when you're first starting out practicing reflection, or something to kind of use as a bit of a structure in your reflective writing or writing a reflective diary. Another really basic structure could be just to do like a description of the situation, what kind of happened, thinking about what went well, thinking about what you could do differently, and then thinking about how you felt in that situation, and maybe thinking about, you know, why you felt that way, past experiences that might have like contributed to you feeling that way. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that next. So the next kind of big question is, what should I reflect on? And again, you know, there's no right or wrong answer in terms of what you reflect on and what you want to reflect on. It's not like there's, you know, there's some things you should be reflecting on, some things you shouldn't be reflecting on. It's about kind of picking a situation or something that you felt was really poignant to you and that you want to discuss more about. So for example, you might want to reflect on why you reacted a certain way in a certain situation. You know, what feelings that situation invoked in you, and perhaps what led you to reacting a certain way. Or, you know, if you've had experiences in the past and this situation kind of brought up memories of that experience, and kind of reflecting on that, thinking about why you said something, why you did something that maybe you weren't expecting to do. You know, thinking about a therapy session, for example, or it doesn't even have to be a therapy session, you can reflect on absolutely anything. You know, friends say something to you and you react in a certain way to something that they're saying, and on reflection you're kind of thinking, oh, I wish I'd reacted a bit differently to that. I feel like I was a bit snappy there. Thinking about, you know, perhaps why that happened. What kind of feelings did you have in that moment? What was that like for you? What was coming up for you? It's not an easy process. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, looking into yourself, especially, you know, when these questions are kind of coming up. They can be really tricky to cope with. They can be, you know, they're raising a lot of issues that are difficult to think about, that are, you know, difficult to cope with. But by kind of getting it out there in the open, it can help you become a better practitioner. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about now. So why should we reflect? And first and foremost, the most important part of reflection is that it helps you become a better practitioner by kind of acknowledging and realising what kind of situations invoke what kind of feelings and reactions from you. And being able to be aware of that means that, you know, in the future you can kind of, it's a first step to help you stop that. You know, if that's something that you want to work on. If, again, using like a friend example, a friend says something to you and you kind of snap back at them, but your plan is, you know, you want to be more empathetic, you want to be able to listen better to them rather than just having a go at them and telling them what they should do, kind of thing. It might be kind of thinking about, you know, well, in that situation when that friend says something to you, what are you kind of thinking? And being able to be aware of that means that in the future you can kind of, you know, prepare for if that situation happens again. And it's the same in a therapy session. You know, you might say or do something that you're not happy with a individual that you're working with, and it might be about, you know, you're thinking, right, in order to be a better practitioner I need to kind of stop doing this or start doing this. And kind of, you know, either by writing that down or talking about that in supervision. Your supervisor can help you do this as well. You know, it's not something that you have to do all on your own. It can definitely be done with a supervisor. You can kind of talk this over and think about, you know, what could I have done differently? The big ways of being able to think about, right, what can I do differently, is actually like, why did this happen in the first place? And I think that's really important to remember. And yeah, like I said, you know, it's not something that you have to do on your own. And sometimes we're not sure what we can do differently. Or even, you know, we're not sure why something happened, why something went the way that it did. And it might be about, you know, getting support from your supervisor, and that's something that can help you become a better practitioner and improve your practice. It's not just in a therapeutic setting. Reflecting on all aspects all over your life can be really, really important in relationships and friendships, working with, you know, your family. It comes into everything. You know, we all say things or do things that we don't want to do, and it's, you know, perhaps thinking about, well, why did that happen? On the flip side, I feel like I've talked a lot about the negatives, like, you know, reflecting on things that go wrong, but it might be that you reflect on something that goes really, really well. Perhaps you have a session with a young person and you think, oh, actually that went really well. I was really I felt like I was really engaging there. I felt that the session went really well, and it might be about writing down positive, what actually went really well there. Remember that for another session in order to recreate that, or to do something similar next time. So reflecting on things that have gone well are also really good to do. And again, it's something that you can discuss with your supervisor and say, it went really well. This is maybe something that I want to do for other sessions. So I hope that kind of made sense. It's just a bit of a quick introduction into reflective practice, thinking a little bit about how to do it, what you could reflect on, and why you should reflect. So I hope that all kind of makes sense. I remember when I you know, was first introduced to the idea of a reflection in my undergraduate degree, and I was kind of like, this is so pointless. What is the point of me reflecting on this? It's, you know, kind of boring when you're not used to it. Sitting there and kind of writing about your feelings and how you felt in a certain situation can feel like a really odd, weird thing to do, and uncomfortable. Like I said, it can be really uncomfortable. It can be boring. And it takes practice. You just have to keep practicing, and eventually it just kind of becomes a bit more natural. But I think the things that we've discussed in this video are a really good starting point if you're just kind of getting used to the idea of reflection and reflective practice. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!